Testing. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's July 21st, 2023. Let's go ahead and jump into everything. We're going to go back to yesterday and take a look at what happened here, see if there's anything notable to mention. So we came into the open yesterday and we talked about there being a decent bullish signal from the low that gave us a clue for a potential bounce, but that overall we had a lot more strength for the bears, right? So we had a lot more in terms of the daily, the 4-hour, the hourly, all on board for the bearish move. And then we had that counter signal from the overnight lows that gave a hint for a bounce, right? So what happened here this yesterday morning? The market bounced out of the open, and actually you had some good opportunities right off the FMA as it started to break out to the upside here. And then it came right to, there's that textbook hold off the 200 moving average to the tick, and it gave you a 5-point bounce, right? I think it was a 5-point or just over a 5-point bounce up. Now here's the interesting part, and I want to talk about the fibs because again, in the overnight session we talked about, and let me just make sure I have the whole leg here. So from the high, the all-time high for the year, or the not the all-time high, but the high for the year, all the way down to the overnight low, we were holding right at the 38% retracement. And we talked about this in our pre-market yesterday. And then just before the open here, 15 minutes before the open, we pushed down and we made a new low, right? And I believe we came in and I told you, hey, let's throw the 61.8 retracement up there around 45.97.75 or whatever, give or take a tick. And that fib leg, is going to be in play unless the market pushes to a new low. And we were selling off here coming into the open. So it almost looked like we were going to continue to push down to a lower low. And I warned you that you might have to redraw the fib. So I'm only going to draw the 61.8. But if it does bounce, we have this fib up above. Well, what happened? Again, we came out of the open and the market, and let me get this up here, held the FMA. It got a pullback off the VWAP and then got this bounce. And what was the high of the morning? I mean, to the tick, and we're not even talking about, a high that breached by a couple ticks or a point or two. It was literally a to the tick hold, and that was the high of the morning. So if you drew your fib from, again, the high of the year, which was the high from the day before, all the way down to the low, and that's exactly what I did just before the market opened, and I marked the 61.8 up here. Well, what happened? The market came to the tick. Look, if we zoom all the way in, right to the 50% retracement level. That's that blue line you see coming across the screen, and then that was it. So any type of bullish bias we might have had, again, for that little bounce out of the open, that was it. We got a rejection off the 50% retrace, again, something we talk about nearly every week here, and then that was it. It began the major sell-off that we got, and that was the expectation with all the signals that we saw yesterday, right? We said there was a lot more weight for the bears. There might be a pop out of the open and an attempt by the bulls to break out, but there was a little bit more weight for the bears. And so there's the rejection off the 50% retrace of all of that previous price action. If you were to zoom out and look at it here on a 60-minute chart, it was from all the way up again at the high of the year, all the way down to wherever that rotation was, somewhere right around here at the open. Okay. So let's look at some of the detail here as the market started to sell off. And like I said, out of the open, there were some good opportunities to buy on the pullbacks, and then that perfect pullback to the 200 moving average tested it to the tick and got a 5 to 5.5 point bounce. And so there's the rejection off the 50. As the market started to sell off, well, what did it do? It rode the back end of the FMA, right? We started to come down, get through the Hopel, get down through VWAP, came right to the back end of the FMA, and basically held it here nearly to the tick, all the way down until we came to the low of the day before. There's our daily power level, and what do you know? We got ourselves a 5-point bounce right off of it. Okay? Then from there, still the bears were in control, rejected in front of the 200, and then you can see Really nice sell-off. We came into our retracement we were talking about, but no follow-through. Got a break and couldn't get through the FMA. That was a clue if you were long from here that wasn't looking like it was going to work. And then we held the back end of it to come down and again parry right off the FMA on this whole sell-off. And then we get a little bit of a correction up and we come right to, here's another textbook setup. Again, riding the FMA all the way back up and come right to the VWAP, to the tick. I mean, just unbelievable. Right to the tick, to the VWAP, and we pull back and we get a nice, beautiful little 50% retrace of our leg, nearly to the tick, right there, and it attempts to pop up from that 50% retrace of that little leg right there. And let's see if we can hurry this up here. Spend a little too much time getting into the small details here, but it started to rip higher, right? We held a 50% retrace of a leg, came up, and then what happened? We pull back and we hold the 200 nearly to the tick to come up and test. And this is the other fib I wanted to talk about. If you were tracking your fib for the day, right? We started all the way back here at the open with this smaller fib, right? And the fib from the high of the year down to our low, and it held the 50%. If you drew that fib down to the new low for the day, because that's still exactly what you should be doing, well, what happened? The market came up and held the 50% retrace again with about 3 ticks of a break. And again, you get like these little bullish kind of attempts, and then bam, rejected right off the 50%. And then it was another sell-off holding the back end of the 200 moving average the whole way down. Okay, so beautiful stuff. And then what do you know? The low of the day was our next 61.8 retrace here, and it peaked through, I think, by a little less than 2 points there, and then popped out to end the day here. So in my opinion, yesterday had some beautiful price action, some beautiful opportunities with, again, using our levels, using everything that we talk about. You could have gotten into trades with probably less than a point of risk and grabbed 5, 10, and if you got this whole sell-off, maybe 20, 30 points. So you really can't beat the type of risk reward we have here. And that brings us into, and I think I have this, I should have this circled on my 60-minute, but yeah, that right there, beautiful retracement. If we look at it from the bigger picture, we came into the market yesterday, and this is what we saw, right? So we drew our fibs, and I told you we got our 38, which again, it bounced off and went 2 or 3 points, and then held the FMA and continued selling off. So we didn't really do anything at the 38. The 50, I don't quite recall what happened there. I think it didn't really work. And then finally, the low of the day was the 61.8, nearly, within a point or two. And that's where we bounced. And we're attempting now, I'm trying to move the screen, sorry. We're attempting now to, again, hold, that's your textbook, leg up, pull back, hold the 61.8 nearly to the tick, and now the bulls are attempting to continue to push higher right now. So that brings us into this morning. Just looking at the small details here in the overnight session, what do you know? The market basically pushed and held the FMA all night here. We got some little shallow peaks through. I don't think by more than 2 points. It was a couple ticks. And then we got the biggest break through the FMA here in the overnight session at about 4:30 my time. And we broke down about 3 points through and came right to our Holy Orange power level to continue to break out to the upside. Okay, so the Holy Orange power level plotted 3 a.m. my time. So right about here. Finally, it plotted just as the price was pushing up into the 50% area. And then look what happens. We pull back and literally nearly to the tick comes right to the Holy Orange power level. And now has led to the breakout that we're seeing right now, or at least this nice bullish push. So let's go up to our higher time frames and see what the charts have for us this morning. Move this out of the way and we'll jump on up.